welcome to the Grow Old Disgracefully podcast. Ruth, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you, Andy. Very good. Just here in my
Yeah.
office.
Again, it's a bit like Groundhog Day, isn't it? Seeing as we did this yesterday and internet was again playing up. So we're back to do it because this is how much you mean to us. We're going to do it again and make sure that it's all right.
It's annoying about the internet because I don't know what it is. So I changed my internet just in case anyone's really interested in this chat. I changed my internet so that it's plugged directly into the router. And then just occasionally, for an unknown reason, it just is stopping or just not working enough. And it seems to be when I'm chatting to Andy.
This just has a shit fit when it sees me. It's like, oh
It's
no,
like
not this guy again.
it's trying to get the message all the way from Scotland to here.
That's it. Aye, yeah. It's by carrier pigeon. That's probably a better way of doing it, to be fair.
I was just looking actually to see if I had any questions. So we started this podcast, didn't we, Andy, yesterday? And
Yes, we did.
Andy was full rant. So I feel like I need to try and get him going again. He was
Oh, you
asking
don't need to
me,
worry. You don't need to worry about that. We can get that one going very easily.
well, Andy was asking me yesterday about what, gym etiquette and what I find kind of annoys me in the gym. And I was saying the standard boring stuff of we should all put our weights away. I think that is just polite. And I don't mean just the heavy stuff. I mean, if you've got a band out and you've used it, it goes away. If you've had a dumbbell out, no matter how small, put it away, those types of things. And I also mentioned about if you're a sweaty mess and you are sitting on a bench and you get up and there's a sweat patch there, no one should have to go and sit on that sweat patch. That should be wiped up. But then Andy
Yes.
had one, which I'll let him take
Let's
charge
let's
on.
let's let's delve into two you've just spoken about though.
Yeah,
I
okay.
think putting your we're all grown adults that are going to the gym. Put your shit away. Like your mummy isn't following you around cleaning up your mess anymore. You're a grown adult. Pick up your own shit. Like it's not difficult to do. Like if you're using heavy dumbbells, roll them. That's how easy it is. And then obviously the sort of the hygiene thing. You shouldn't be going into the gym smelling like you've already been working out for 4 hours. Chuck a wee bit of deodorant on. It's not going to do any damage. Like it'll help the other people that are training around you. And I think a lot of the gym etiquette stuff is being aware of folk around you and understanding that you're not the only person there, which that's where it leads on to it's a nice little segue there.
Oh,
Leads on
clever.
to the rant that I was having yesterday, which
Get ready.
we're
Get a
about
cup of
to
tea.
restart now. Um, so the thing that I'm seeing at the moment is in the gym is people's it's I don't know if it's a social media. It's coming from social. Well, I know it's coming from social media, but like the whole overarching issue that I have is the fact that as a generation, as a society, we're extremely selfish at the moment, and we don't really give a shit about anybody else when it comes to you doing you, which is obviously one of these quotes that's penned by some fucking absolute melt who doesn't really understand how life works. You do you. No, no, no. You also have to understand that there are other people out there and you need to be respectful towards them as well. So the thing that I've seen a couple of times recently, or quite a few times recently in the gym, is somebody using the D handles that are generally used for the cables, use them for cable flies, lateral raises on the cables, etc., and jamming it into the mechanics of the leg extension to increase range of movement. So let's target the first bit. Does it increase range of movement? And I actually tried this morning with the general manager at JD Gyms because I was chatting away to him about it, and it's been doing his nutting as well. It doesn't actually increase the range of movement because everybody that's doing it is putting the the arm of the leg extension at a higher angle anyway, so you're actually not doing anything. You're wedging a piece of kit into the mechanics of the leg extension, then opening up the angle anyway. So actually, it doesn't do anything. And when you do it like that, it actually touches where you pin it, actually ends up hitting the metal joist that holds the whole piece of kit together. So I would understand if it was able to make things. So there's a piece of kit on the internet just now that is being touted, and it's basically like a big foam pad that sits on top of the pad that you put your shins on the leg extension. That will increase range of movement because it doesn't stop any of the mechanics from moving. It doesn't stop it from going full range, and in fact opens you up a bit more. A simpler way of doing that, rather than that, is actually just to get a couple of foam blocks that you use for like Pilates and lift your butt. Have them under your knees so it increases the flexion at the knee. Nice and easy. But what I'm seeing happen at the moment is people are using D handles and jamming it into the mechanics of the leg extension. First off, you are using a piece of kit that is like hen's teeth in the gym anyway. If you're in a commercial gym and you're trying to find a set of D handles, it is difficult enough to find a set of D handles as it is without some wanker using them to fucking jam in a piece of kit that they've got no reason to be in. Secondly, you can turn around and say all you want about the fact that, oh, it's a commercial gym, they're faceless, Pure Gym, JD, all this stuff. No, this is the number one selfish shite. Like, it's not about the gym. It's about every other gym user that is now going to try and find a D handle that is either not where it needs to be or is broken. I don't know who the person is, but there's someone that trains in the JD that I train in that tried to justify this by saying, I'm a fitness professional. I know what I'm doing. If you're a fitness professional and you're doing this, you haven't got a fucking Scooby-Doo. You are an absolute cretin and you shouldn't be in the fitness industry. In fact, if I ever find out who it is, I'll make sure it's my business to run you the fuck out of the industry. Proper tombstone, Kevin Costner, fucking Val Kilmer, you'll be getting run out like a Western, because that's not the attitude to have.
Okay, Andy, I'm going to say a couple of things. I will get back to your point, but firstly, just so everyone knows, I am going to put the baby filter on that bit of the rant. The thing that you can do, because that's going to look brilliant. But also, yes, you can't justify that you're wrecking a bit of kit. And I know that I said this in the podcast yesterday, but I do like to think that there are good people in the world. I will put you in that category, Andy, because you are making it a mission to correct the behavior of others. But ultimately, we end up paying for it as the members of the public, because if pieces of kit keep getting broken in these big, chain style gyms, then it's going to be added on to the membership eventually. It's just going to come back. If they're having to replace or fix bits of kit and their running costs get higher, they're not paying for it. We'll end up paying for it. And the other thing I was going to say that I did say yesterday, and I've remembered I'm going to say it again, is I remember when I was teaching days and they said about bullying, and they used to say, don't be a bystander, be an upstander. So obviously, if you're not comfortable in the gym environment, you're probably not going to go up to somebody who's a fitness professional and go, you shouldn't be using the kit like that. But it is worth pointing out to, dob them in. Or if you are comfortable enough to say them, find Andy, snitch, because they are, or, be like, I'm looking for D handles. I saw somebody had some D handles over there. But ultimately, they're not going to be friends with everyone in the gym. It's not the way to use it.
The thing that you've got to look at is, yes, there are that you 100% you can use pieces of kit to improvise, and use pieces of kit that probably aren't what they were designed for, and you can do that. That's fine, but it's to the detriment of the other gym users and to the destruction of the piece of kit. No, that's not okay. If you're going to do that, buy your own set of D handles and destroy your own set of D handles. It's as simple as that. They're not expensive. They're pretty cheap, actually. You can pick up a set of D handles for peanuts. So if you're going to do that, use your own stuff.
It's not a bad idea to take a set of D handles to the gym anyway, because they are always short.
Honestly, my gym bag I don't use them very often, but I've got like a set of the cuffs that you can use on like wrists and ankles and stuff. Got a set of them. I've got a set. My big one at the moment is, rather than using, like the tricep rope for like extensions, I've got a loop. It's got like 2 loops on it. It's like a bit of cord. Genuinely one of the best bits of kit on the market, because you can use it for everything. And then lifting straps, D handles. So everything's in a nice little plastic bag in my bag. Excuse me, I've got the hiccups. All nicely, neatly piled away, and it's perfect.
I can help you with the hiccups, by the way.
What's the hiccups?
It wasn't actually, I think it was Huberman that shared this, but honestly, I'm about to blow you all away because it's worked every time. No, that doesn't. So honestly, the first time I tried this, it worked. And then I was out for dinner with my sister-in-law, and I told her to do it when she had hiccups, can't even say it now. And after she did it, she turned around and she was like, Oh my goodness. So you take a big breath in through your nose, don't do, yeah, and you go, and then you take another one without breathing out, just another breath. And then you're meant to hold it. Andy's going to be quiet for 30 seconds, but up to around 30 seconds. Okay, he
I've done
failed.
too much there. Done too much.
Yeah. But you go big breath, and then again, and then you hold it for up 20 to 30 seconds, and then you let it out. Hiccup's gone. You can thank me later. You try it later. You don't sound like your hiccups are that bad. You're not. Yeah, it's more like a burp, but that's fine. And I like
To be fair, it's because I'm drinking fizzy. I'm drinking a fizzy
it's
energy
air.
drink, so
Yeah, so
it's
that's why
air.
you couldn't hold the breath because you're just trapping more air.
Exactly.
But the lifting strap, or I've got a like I quite like doing things like reverse squats with cables, and the ones you can put around the ankles, they're quite nice as well, just as a bit of an accessory warm-up exercise. Anyway, but my gym bag, I don't travel around that much to go to the gym, but I might take those little things with me when I go away in the summer because
Yeah, I always find it easier when you do that kind of stuff if you've got your kit in your bag because you don't need a lot either. You need a couple of bits of kit. Like it's not like you've got a whole like you've got the lat pull down bar and stuff. And although I have seen people taking a lat pull down bar in their bag, so yeah, but it's couple of simple bits of kit, D handles, because as we already mentioned, it's like hen's teeth finding D handles at the best of times. And I don't know about you, but I'm OCD with that stuff. They have to be the same. If there's two different ones, one slightly bigger, one slightly smaller, my head is blown. I'm like, no, this is really putting me off my stride now. Ugh.
the gym I train in when I'm in Barbados is they've got different types of weights and they might all be Olympic size, but some are thinner, like they're all rubber as well, but some are thinner, some are fatter, but they're the same weight. So they might have, it's all in pounds, but they might have a 20-pound one that's fat and a 20-pound one that's thin. That messes with my head if you're adding those to a barbell and then you've got one side that's thicker than the other. It's worse if you're adding on like a bumper style plate and
Yeah,
then a small metal plate. And I'm like, what is going on here? Like, I just can't cope with this. And there's often weights just left piled out there as well.
yeah. And it's,
But
it's, it's just, it's etiquette's a real simple thing. I think it's a real simple thing. And I think that for the majority of gyms, they do police it quite well. They do police it pretty well with sort of gym etiquette. I think the other thing that's kind of, you know, I don't know if do you follow Joey Swole on Instagram?
yes, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
if I don't
he's
follow him, he's coming up all the time.
he's hilariously funny because people get so butthurt when they get pulled out about what they're doing, and you're like, you are being a dickhead though. Like, how can you not see that? Giving people dirty looks because they've walked across the front of their camera. It's not a fucking recording studio. It's a fucking gym at the end of the day. So if somebody walks across your camera, put your camera somewhere that's out the way, or just don't fucking film. If you want to do that, go hire a studio or hire a gym somewhere and film it yourself. Don't think that people have to work around you. Like, that's not how this goes.
If you ever get called out by Jerry Swell, the best thing to do is say, I'm very sorry. I
Yeah.
wasn't thinking because it never works to go
No,
and try and
because
defend yourself because people will go, that's not what happened.
yeah, exactly. That's it. It's one of those weird things, isn't it? It's like, it's, I think at times, exactly as you said, sometimes we need to start calling out these things. It's the same in everyday life as well. If something's not right, call it out. Be nice about it and try to do it respectfully. And that's one thing I'll give him his due because I know there's been people in the past that have done this kind of sort of similar stuff to what he does, and they're just dickish about it. Whereas he
There
actually
is a,
makes he doesn't attack it. He works on the issue really well, speaks very well, does it very calculated and very evenly done, and it's really nice. It's good to see because people do start. It's nice that folks start actually caring about others in the gym, and that
well,
also
they
helps.
say do better, he finishes it with, doesn't
Yeah,
he?
do definitely do better.
Because
Get it, get it sorted.
there's that other guy that it goes into the comments, but he goes really harsh attack on people
Is
who
this
have
is
let
this
the
Goobs
big
blog,
beardy
Goobs or
guy.
something like
Yeah.
that? Yeah,
Oh no, I know. Goobs does the people that uh
do all their photoshopping.
editing.
Are you talking about? Is it Paddy O'Dwyer? Paul O'Dwyer, the Irish boy?
No,
He's.
this
Have you
is an
seen him?
American.
He
No.
he is so funny. Somebody will put something up about the fact that you've got one of these CrossFit girls who's doing like clean and jerking like 150 kilos and it looks makes it look easy. And someone will be like, she's got a very manly physique. And then he obviously takes it apart. He is
I have seen him.
hilarious. He's like that. It's the fact that he just starts laughing at himself after him. He goes, "You're just a cunt," and then and falls backwards on. It's just like so good.
But there was the one recently where somebody had said that guy's wife looked like a man, and she didn't look like a man at all. And
Yeah.
they showed the picture of the guy who was
And then
probably
he'll
not in
probably
his
be
best
like that,
shape.
goes, maybe you want to look a little bit more like a man.
But it's interesting. People become keyboard warriors. It's very easy for people to say things, isn't it? And you know what? Like, if you are writing something on the internet, and I know that people listen to this podcast won't be like this, I'm sure. But if you're writing something and you're not willing to put your name or have your picture of yourself on that thing, then you probably shouldn't write it. Like, that's the
Yeah.
thing. If you shouldn't write it, if you're not happy for your name to be there, for people to know it's actually you, then don't write it.
I'll put this one, back it up or shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Probably a
I
good way of doing it.
I think we get so caught up in compare. Well, I know that you don't, and I definitely don't anymore. But I know that a lot of people, and it's something that people work on, but it's getting that comparison. And often when we see other people doing well, it isn't that we are upset that they're doing well. It's more that it's a kind of a mirror into what we're not doing. And that's where the things come out, isn't it? And I know that I did a quiz type thing. I created this quiz, and one of the questions was about comparison to others. And a lot of people that answered it, one of the things they really struggled with that stopped them progressing on their journey was that constant comparison to other people. Which, if you say it to someone, like they'd be like, of course, it doesn't make sense to do that. And it doesn't make sense to not continue because of that. But they find it really demoralizing. And it's
And let's
interesting,
be
isn't
and
it?
let's be honest, the majority of people aren't comparing themselves to their peer group. They're comparing themselves to, like, for instance, you get somebody who's like, oh, you're comparing yourself to a professional athlete, a professional bodybuilder. Like, you're in completely different spheres of what you're doing. Like, you might want to get into a better shape at 40 years old, but don't look at somebody that's an IFBB professional. Like, these guys are got all amounts of PEDs. They've got doctors on hand. They've got chefs that are cooking their food. They may have kids, but they'll have nannies because they're professional athletes. That's what these guys do. Like a lot of them. Some of them won't. Some of them will be genuinely like working hard. But we don't compare ourselves to our own peer group. If you look at your peer group, where are you in relation to people of your own age in similar standings to you? We don't compare ourselves to that. We compare ourselves to the billionaires or professional athletes or all these other wallopers that are at the top end, the top
I think
1%.
that does definitely become the case, but I do also see it with, particularly, I don't want us to go back into this thing, but particularly with friends that are trying to do their approach to dieting a different way. So if you're doing it the old fashioned way and other people are choosing to go down the GLP-1 route, and maybe they're making progress quicker, and they're trying to say, no, you should just do this, that can be hard with that comparison. But I think it's just constantly reminding yourself that you're taking things day by day. There's a reason you chose to do it the way that you're doing it. And to move forward, it can be quite hard. And when people are trying to justify the way they're doing things, again, it's a window into the fact that they're needing to justify it because they want to. And the same the other way around, anyone that gets wax lyrical and passionate about anything that they're doing, so be that intermittent fasting or a juice diet or whatever, they're trying to say or convince themselves it's working really well. And it might be that to begin with it is. They're passionate about it. They're defending it because they don't want you to criticize it.
Yeah,
And it's best
100%.
just to let it go, to let it wash over your head, really. It's hard, not always easy to do.
It is difficult to do, and I think that's kind of one of the things that, it's something I've always been good at. I think a lot of it's because of sport has been able to silence the inner voices and that kind of comparison thought process that it's very easy to do. Like I was saying this to a client today. So after about 17 months out of comedy, I was getting back to doing some stand up last week. So I did a couple of gigs last week, And the first one was an interesting one. The first one was like an open mic night, which there was like 39 comedians, and I was the last on. So tired audience, audiences, a lot of them have buggered off home. And it's one of those ones where you're like, geez, man, this is like a piss of a mission. Why the hell am I back for this? So literally lying there in bed, looking at the ceiling at like half 12 at night or half 12 in the morning, looking at the ceiling going, why the hell did I do start back to this? Wednesday night, completely different. Same set, completely different crowd. Went through it and did really well. And still, heads in, looking at the ceiling going, oh, I went really well. Like now I can start thinking about how I'm going to change it to make it better again. And I think sometimes it's good to be analytical like that, but it's also not good at times as well. You've got to know when to switch that off. And I've always been quite good at switching it off when needs be. Yeah, it's a tough one to do though. I get it.
I was actually thinking about this recently, in a similar way to what you've just said there. We get those inner voices, right? And you can see it. In fact, I think I did a reel, it might have been a trial reel, but I did a reel about it because we get those inner voices and we're like, that tell us to give up, tell us not to bother. Why am I even doing this? But if you keep going, that really is the point where the change is happening because you've got a choice. That is where the choice happens. You get those old thought patterns, you get them because you've practiced doing the other things for years. That is your comfort zone. So obviously, your body's going to try and take you, or your mind's going to try and take you back to comfort. But change doesn't happen until we go, oh no, I'm going to actually not give up this time. And then you move forward. And you always feel good for doing it. Like those things that scare us, like going on stage, which sounds horrendously like telling jokes on stage. God, I can't even imagine that. I think that about bikini athletes prancing around in their bikinis on stage. I'm like, no, thank you. I could go on stage and chat to people. That would be fine. But prancing around in a bikini or telling jokes, I'm like, no, no, I'll leave that to Andy. But those
You've
things
got
that
to be
you
a bit
do
of a
that scare
different
you,
breed.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because you can get heckled and all sorts can happen up there. Not when you're doing bikini competition.
Imagine you got heckled doing a bikini competition. That would be brutal. That
That'd
would
be
be
very
that would
80s. I wonder if that would happen in the
that would be
80s.
that would be to be tough going if you got heckled in a bikini competition. Can you imagine?
Oh my goodness. I mean, that'd be.
That would be savage. That's savage beyond belief. In fact, that's like one of those ones where you're like, oh no, that's not good.
I've seen some like bodybuilding competitions where they've just had the average guy that's just gone on and he's tanned himself up, bit of a beer
Yep.
belly, and stood there and like sucked his tummy in and stuff. And I thought that's quite funny. But again, no heckling, just quite funny. My
Yes.
algorithms are obviously doing something there, showing me all that stuff. Yeah, so inner voices, I think we can make it work in progress. I know that well, I'm gonna say this and Andy's gonna be like, bleh, but I find just reminding myself that I'm not that sort of person. If I was somebody that used to give up, I genuinely will say to myself, I'm proud of someone that never gives up. Like I started writing that in my journal, like as a gratitude thing. I'm grateful I'm someone that never gives up. And the reason I started doing that was because in the past, when things had started to get a bit difficult, and I don't mean necessarily with like fat loss and things like that, but maybe in the past it would have been just anything. If things got difficult, there's that tendency to be like, not make excuses so much, but yeah, make excuses, find reasons not to carry on. And so
Yeah.
I just said to myself, I'm proud or grateful that I'm someone that doesn't give up. And then I became someone that never gives up. It just happens. You remind yourself enough that you are that person. And you can be it in some areas and not other areas. So you can do not you can do difficult things and you
That's
borrow those
it.
difficult things. Yeah.
And I think you're right. It's one of those ones where, there's a couple of points I was going to make on that one. The first one is that about obviously not giving up. I think I would rather fail than not try. It's something it's always been in me. I'd rather try it, and if it doesn't go well, at least I tried it, rather
There's
than
a
just not giving up, just not attempting to do it. I find that more. Um, how do I say it without? I'm trying not to offend anybody. I'd rather try and fail than just not try because it just makes me that's a weakness that I don't want to have in myself. I want to teach my son that it's okay to fail and it's okay to try stuff but not be good at it. You don't need to like it. You don't need to enjoy failing, but It's part and parcel of life. But it's quite interesting because Sarah, do you know the comedian, Sarah Millican?
Yes,
So
yes.
she has a kind of mantra that she lives by with her comedy. And her mantra is that I think it's called, I want to say it's called the 11 o'clock rule. So if you have a bad gig the night before, you have until 11 o'clock the next day to mope about it. And then when 11 o'clock comes, you're back to it. Reset, restart, let's get back to business. And that kind of comes across a little bit with how you want to look at imperfect action. If you've had a bad day, it's not about moping on it. It's about starting the next day fresh, ready to go, and getting back on plan. And I think that's kind of an interesting one that kind of leads on to how do we get people to get themselves back on track again? And it's about not beating yourself up. You've got to be a bit more empathetic towards yourself, which I know none of us want to do. We all want to beat ourselves up because that's how humans work. But does it actually help anything?
No. And actually, there was a quote that you reminded me of then from a book that I read ages ago. It was Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by Susan Jeffers. But the quote it sums up what you've just said is pushing through fear is less frightening than living with the underlying fear that comes from a feeling of helplessness, which is true because that feeling that you're not doing what you want to do, that you're too scared, is constantly there, or that you're not moving towards your goals, that underlying feeling. And living with that long term is so much harder than that moment of fuck it, I don't think it's working, I want to give up. If you just
Yeah.
keep going, it's much more freeing and feels better to keep going. Anyway, there we go.
I would agree with that, yes.
Yes, look, we're being all very empowering today on our journey. Hey Andy.
Stop using that word. Ooh.
Andy can't stand
Oh,
it, but
the dog's looking at me going, is he throwing up over there? What's happening?
it's another word that you don't like, that you don't
I
like
don't like
hardship.
hustle. I don't like the words hustle and
I'm not a big
grind.
fan of.
They
No.
It's like, yeah, you're not hustling,
Grind.
you're not grinding, you're eating a reasonably healthy diet. Get a grip of yourself.
Yeah, yeah. I think grind sounds very chat GPT to me.
Grind something that like you're either if you're a stripper, you may be grinding. That's a part of your role as a stripper. But I think the big one with that is like you look at some jobs. There'll be a grind in some jobs. Like competing for a plastic trophy isn't a it's not a grind. You've chosen to do that. Simple as that.
Exactly. I was looking up on Google Trends the other day, like most Googled things, and I thought that was an interesting one because, and I'm going to do a podcast on this, but it was like easiest way to lose weight. And I thought it's funny, isn't it? Because do they mean easiest or do they mean quickest? Because the easiest way to lose weight is to do it in a way where you're choosing to make changes that you want to keep forever, that you don't want to get let go of, that actually don't feel like a diet. Because that was another most Google question. It's how to lose weight without dieting. You can lose weight without technically going on diet. You're going to be in a calorie deficit. That is going to be what ultimately leads to weight loss. But it's the seeing it as a quick fix diet, making all these changes, going all in, that actually makes weight loss hard and makes it unsustainable. And so I thought it's really interesting that we're saying, what's the easiest way to lose weight? When we could be saying, probably are looking for what's the quickest. Because if you want easy, easy all day ends up being quickest long term anyway. But
Yeah.
make the
So
changes you want to keep long term.
it's a mindset thing though, isn't it? Like it's a mindset thing all the way. Like if you genuinely want to lose weight and make it sustainable, it's actually quite simple. I'm not going to say it's easy. It's simple. There are simple steps that you follow to get to where you need to be. It's never going to be easy. There's always going to be something that's going to get in the way, or there's always going to be something that's going to, whether it's family life, whether it's, the fact that, you may have your fridge breaks down, so you can't meal prep properly for the next 2 weeks. Something stupid, but also something quite meaningful could happen. You could be a bereavement in the family, and these things that you can't control. So to say that it's the easiest way to lose weight, I don't really like that, because it's the easy way would be, I don't know, easy way would be just going starving yourself, but we know that that's not going to end well, don't we?
Well, that's hard. As in, it might seem easy because you don't need to think about much. I'm just not going to eat, but it's hard because your body's going to be pushing back. Actually, there's a lovely coach in Ireland, Claire, she put a clip from her podcast on her Instagram yesterday. And she said, people are asking me about moving to maintenance, but what I actually like to say is you live at maintenance and you visit a deficit. And I thought, that's it. That is really what we're doing. We're living at maintenance. Life is carrying on the same. And if we want to lose a bit of body fat, we visit the deficit. And that can be through just changing what we're eating a little bit, increasing our general activity a little bit. But ultimately, the main things that you're doing are going to be things that you're doing anyway. Ultimately, that's the plan. And that makes it easier to go into maintenance when you finish with your fat loss. And it makes fat loss easier because of the fact that it doesn't feel like much of a change, really. Just a
And
little
that's
bit
the
of tidying
whole
up.
that's the whole idea of it, isn't it? It shouldn't be so drastic that it feels like everything's changing. You want to make small manipulations, make them when you need to make them, rather than just constantly go, no, I need to drop more weight, I need to drop more calories. No, no, no. Let's do this methodically and work at it, and we'll get to a better resolution of where you're wanting to be without crashing and burning, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I've been reading a book, Compound Effect, I think it is, and they were talking about the habits, and it's true, it's things that you and I have spoken about in the past, but just said in a different way. But if you've got one friend, I don't know if I spoke to you about this on the last podcast, but you've got one friend that is choosing a less healthy habit each day. Say they've just retired, and with retirement, they want to have a bit more fun. They start having a beer every day because they're not there. And again, over a bit of time, you're not going to notice that that is any different to his friend who's actually made a habit of going for a 10-minute walk every day. It's not much change, but over the long term, there's going to be a change in how those people, their health and probably their weight as well. And this is the thing, those things, those tiny changes we don't notice, like having a beer every day when we didn't before, if it's on top of what we've been doing, they lead to perhaps weight gain that builds over a longer period of time. But then when we realize, oh shit, we've gained weight, it snuck up on us, I don't even know how I did this, then we want to lose it all very, very quickly. So it's taken a while to get there. It's happened very slowly, just maybe 100 calories over our maintenance over time, getting us to that point. But we want to go all in and we want to lose a good few years worth of weight in 6 weeks, please. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
But there we go. And I say that, I've definitely been like that before. I've been like annoyed with myself, like, oh, how did that happen? I've had a great winter or whatever it is.
I've had a great winter, especially if I was a bear named Yogi.
Exactly. I went into hibernation. I mean, we've spoken about this. I definitely think I put on a little bit more body fat in the winter, probably because maybe I'm not as active and the more kind of comforty style food. But
Exactly. That's
but not loads. But again, when it comes to summer, I don't feel the need to go. We talked about this in the last podcast, to overly restrict for the summer. It would just be a case of I'm a bit more active again, and I'm going to be applying the no crap cake condition a little bit
it's
more.
just tidying things up, isn't it? It's not. You don't need to do a full spring clean. It's basically just tidying a few things up and getting yourself back into the swing of the plan or the routine that you're following. So it's never,
Yeah.
as I say, fat loss is simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. There's no magic behind it. There's nothing that people aren't telling you the secret of fat loss. Although you'll get loads of people online telling you that there's secrets to fat loss, there really isn't. It's basically simple principles hit into a nice routine and consistently done over time, and you'll get where you need to be. So yeah, I think it's simple, not easy. That's probably the best way to look at it.
It's finding what works for you and your life,
Exactly.
knowing it's different than your friends. Because again, and that's the other thing. And I don't know if you've ever seen this, but I would get people that would be like, my friend seems to be able to eat whatever they want and they never gain weight. But you only see what they're eating in front of you. So it might be that it looks like when you go to the restaurant with them, they always have a dessert and they're always having this, but they have got that balance. They might not snack at all at any other times, and they're not like eating like that every day. So again, try not to compare because you don't know what they're doing the rest of the time.
Exactly. And I think that's why I find this whole guff that was doing the rounds for a bit, this whole what I eat in a day shite that was going over Instagram. There was so much of that that just you're just like, okay, this is what I eat in a day, and you're banging up however many thousand calories. All right, but what are you not showing us? What are you not
I
showing us? And actually, number one, are you actually being truthful about what you're eating in a day?
no, they've picked a day, but you'll pick the perfect day. If I was gonna, I've never done one of those, by the way, but if I was going to do one of those, well, maybe I should do one now, which is like on my worst day, on my honest day. But you would pick your best days. I'd probably pick a working day where I am pretty structured with my eating and there
Yeah.
isn't very much else going on. But you give me a weekend day where I've been running and I'm busy and like I'm gonna have a big bun in there.
Do you know what? Do you know the thing I find the funniest about this, what I eat in a day, shite, is the fact that every single one of them looks like they've been prepared by a chef. You're like, I'm sorry, I have zero time in my day to make something look that good. You're talking shite. My porridge is basically banged into a bowl, chucked in whatever fruit and stuff's there. It looks like somebody's basically just lobbed everything into a mess, and I'm going to eat it anyway. Whereas this is all like the bananas are cut all round the side of the bowl, the raspberries are put in a certain position, the honey's drizzled on, really seductive. You're like, fuck off, you don't do that every day. Nobody has the time to do that. Genuinely. Get a
I
grip.
put a picture. I put a picture up on my stories once of the fact I prepped my overnight oats for the week. You know, whatever. And I got a comment from one of my clients, and she was like, "I'm glad that you just use whatever tubs are available as well." And I was like, "Yes." I had a few jars, and then I had a plastic tub because it was just like whatever's there, and things go missing.
Why would you do anything different that would make it difficult to try to do? Oh, I'm going to get myself a really pretty bowl. Cool. Well, I'm taking this pretty bowl to work with me, Emma, because that's not going to work.
And I think that's the thing. Like, if those people are creating it for, like, I know a lady who creates recipes for her app. So when she tries them out herself, she makes them and then she puts them in the app. So she'll say, "I'm having this for dinner," and it will look beautiful. But that's because it's been photographed to go into her app. I get that. But even in my app, if I was to create the recipes myself, they ain't gonna look like that because I'm rubbish at presentation. But I do love cooking,
Yeah.
you know, I sometimes think maybe I should write down some of the recipes because I make it up often. I was like, maybe I should
Yeah.
write down some of the recipes and share. But
Yeah. Well, it's like that.
yeah,
My carrot cake tastes immense, but it's very rustic, shall we say? I don't try to smooth the ice, and I'm just like bang it on, bang, get stuck into it, done.
I do try and smooth the icing on my carrot cake, but I could just
No,
about.
no time for that. No time for
I
that.
don't know. I can't help it. Doesn't. But I'll even do. It's only the carrot cake I do it on. But I'll put one layer of icing around the side, and I call it the crumb layer. So it shows a bit of the crumbs still through it, and I put that in the fridge and let that set, and then I put another layer over, which is like the smooth finish layer.
That's what I like to hear. Doubling up on layers with when it comes to cream cheese icing is the way forward.
Exactly, because if you go too thin, one, you can see the cake, and two, not getting any, are you?
Well,
We were
you
always
could do
thinking
what
about the
I
cake.
do. You could do what I do and do 3 times the amount of cream cheese icing that is actually necessary for a carrot cake and have it in a container in the fridge. And when you cut your carrot cake, you can get another couple of dollops and put it on.
I mean, this goes
That's
back to Andy. The
Laura's
diff-
honestly, Laura's like, why do you keep making so much icing like that? Are you complaining? I don't think so.
but this is where it's annoying as a woman because you could probably eat that, still remain in maintenance calories. Whereas if I was going into the fridge and picking at icing all day, that would be where the weight was just sneaking on. And baking is something I used to do a lot, but do less now. I do bake, but I do it less now because I'm such a nightmare when it comes to licking the mixture. I don't let the kids know. I mean, like when I was a kid, when you grew up licking it, I'm like, don't tell the children. I'm
But
gonna.
when you grew up, when you grew up, you were literally hanging around the bowl, trying to get your finger in the bowl to get a bit of the mixture, and then you would get the
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 spoon or the
the spoon or the mixers. You'd be
yeah.
sitting going, wrapping
My
your
boys
tongue.
still do that, but
Do you mean
oh,
I still do that?
yeah. Well, I do it too. But if I'll give the bowl or I'll give part of it to my kids. But my mum used to do it. So one of you got the bowl and one of you got the spoon, and then we'd swap it around each time. And she'd leave a little bit on the spoon, definitely on purpose, which is quite sweet of her because I'm getting that spatula, the
Yeah,
silicon spatula, and I'm getting as much out as I can.
I'm getting everything out.
Yeah, but then I do have a little taste of it as I go along. Oh dear. See, that's so I've had to rein in the baking because I can imagine Andy's what do you eat in a day? And then he'll be like breakfast, lunch, cream cheese frosting.
Just the
You
fridge,
should do the
just
alternative
just
one.
just the fridge opening up and me going with a big finger.
But I think we're doing a disservice to people with the what I eat in a day things because you put up your perfect day. But if you're not doing a full week of realistic actual eating, the fact that, yeah, you do sit down and have some cream cheese frosting on its own, or you are sitting and having an ice cream in the evening, I don't know whatever it is, then people are going to think that in order to be your weight and your size, whatever, they need to eat perfectly, like perfectly. See, I don't know if that one would appeal to me. Andy's holding up a Magnum wrapper. What flavour is it?
A double gold caramel billionaire. It was very nice. That was last night. That was last night after I'd had my yogurt.
So I've got
Winner.
some mini Magnums in the freezer at the moment,
They are
which are
too
tiny.
small.
They are
I'd need to eat
tiny,
about 7 or 8 of them to actually for it to even make a dent. I'd be like, what's going on?
but I do like them. But actually, I'm finding that they've been there for. I like mint choc ones. We've got just apple lollies, just normal apple like you used to get cider refreshers, and they're like 60 calories per lolly, and they taste like a really nice sweet like treat after dinner. So I've been having kind of one of those now and again, but again, people aren't going to be putting those onto their what I eat in a day because they're not full of protein. They've got plenty of they've got sugar in them. They're just sugar and water,
You'll try
apple
and
water.
find, oh, we found a protein ice lolly or a protein ice cream. Good, go eat it because it tastes like shit a bit. I'll stick with my Magnum. Thank you very much.
I think this is where I've changed over the years. If I approached fat loss, I'd be like, oh no, my snack's got to have protein in it and it's got to have this in it. Now I very much would be like, if I'm going to have a snack, I'll make sure I've met my protein goals. I tend to get those through my meals anyway. But then on top of that, if I am having a snack, firstly, I want to make sure that it's something that I'm really going to enjoy. Other than fruit, I will snack on fruit, like cheese and so on. But make sure it's something I really enjoy. And I'm not really going to be overly looking at the protein levels in it.
Yeah, I'm the same. It's especially the fact that we know for a fact that we're probably all intaking, or everybody sets their target ridiculously high for protein. So as a man, I should be eating 250 grams of protein a day. No, like no, that's not how it works. I'm 150 grams a day. That
Mm.
sits me nicely. If I get above that, happy days. It's all good. If I'm below it, kind of try to aim for the 150. As long as it's within the ballpark, we're all good.
I aim for about 100, 100
Yeah,
plus. It's normally above 100, but if I'm thinking of my meals and I'm like, okay, I've had 30 grams at breakfast, my evening meal might end up being 40. And actually, I saw some other research that had come out recently saying, because obviously muscle protein synthesis, there's that whole thing about spreading your protein intake throughout the day. But now they're saying just get your protein in wherever you can, in whatever is the easiest way for you. So if you are having more in the evening than during the day, then that's also fine, which I've kind of found interesting. But I will eat my protein, my 100 grams will probably come in my meals anyway. And then I'm not going to stress about making it higher. I mean, it's 1.6 to 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight normally that you aim for. But I was chatting to a friend when I was away, a guy, and he'd been given a very high protein goal. Like I think it was the upper end. It was more like 2.3, 2.4 grams of protein per kilogram. And I was like, the my worry about that is that it starts to impact the rest of your diet. If you go so heavily focused on protein, then and you're aiming for a calorie goal, so a deficit type goal, then you might find that you actually are lacking other nutrients or other macros a little bit that you need. Might not be getting enough
yeah,
carbs or
exactly.
fats.
That's it. And that's going back to something that you'd said earlier on about the fact that people tie themselves to diets. Like, I don't like the term flexible diet, but a diet should be flexible. It should be easy to manipulate and not freak out if you're, seen so many people freaking out, oh, I've run out of yogurt. Oh, I can't have my yogurt at night time. So what? Find something else. Like, it's not a big deal. Like, don't get hedged into one way of doing things. Although I have to admit, I had a tantrum last night because somebody, Laura, ate my raspberries that were supposed to go in my yogurt. So I had to have a tantrum and go to Sainsbury's to get more. But that's the only time I've ever done that.
Well,
Until the next time she eats my strawberries or my raspberries, and I'll do the same again.
could you get some frozen raspberries? They go quite nicely. They work. You just
Yeah,
needed to
but
get,
for me, it's the problem is getting them out and defrosting them. I always
yeah.
forget. So I'd end up being chewing raspberries, which is all
Yeah, they're
right.
not nice frozen. I put them in
Nah,
overnight oats, or I would put them in the microwave and actually let them warm a little bit. I don't mind that either with your like a compote type thing. Um, that could work. But yeah, I don't tend to get myself in much of a tantrum over things not being in the house unless I've really planned it and then the boys have eaten it because I live with two teenage boys. You know, I'll have it in my mind that I'm going to have that for lunch tomorrow, and then I go there. I'm like, are you kidding me? Little shits have eaten it. But otherwise, I'm pretty good. But I used to, don't get me wrong, I would have definitely been like, I'm meant to eat this day or whatever. You know, I'd be thinking my evening snack is this. And I see it and I kind of understand it because people that have been struggling with their eating want to have some structure. But we do need to learn how to ease off that as well because
yes,
it's that perfectionism that then makes it hard to sustain. So it's kind of going, cool, if I can't do that, then I'll do that. It's like breakfast. I know that you don't do breakfast, but you know, if in an ideal world we'd have this really nutrient dense breakfast full of fiber, full of protein, if you're about to run out the door to work and you're like, shit, I haven't got time to make my normal breakfast, is it better for you to grab a protein shake and a banana or to go, I'm not going to have anything, I'll just work it out later and then get to the point where you're really hungry and you end up picking up whatever you can later? I would argue that even though it's not like optimal, it's probably going to be better to have a protein shake and a banana. Or was it fish and a rice cake? Sorry.
fish in a rice cake, fish in a rice cake. I've got fish and then fish in a rice, and then two rice cakes. Fish and two rice cakes.
Just in case you're wondering what that is, it was like, it wasn't really a meme, was it? It was just this
No, it
thing
was
doing the
real.
rounds. Yeah, it was a
It
guy
was
that was
actually real.
bodybuilding. Yeah. Well, he's come back
Although,
on
although
recently and
I
says
was
he
going to say,
doesn't do that.
to be fair to the boy, if you see him now, he's fucking jacked.
Yeah, he is, but he doesn't eat
So
like that anymore.
I bet you. Well, it'll be like all the fish and all the rice cakes.
Yeah. There are other sources of protein available other than fish, just in case you're wondering. But
Yes.
again, you know, I think we've all done it. We've all been there. We've all tried to do the perfect diet and we've all wondered what's wrong with us when we couldn't sustain it. But there we go. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just all for enjoying life as well, Andy. I'm
Yep, absolutely.
done with the nonsense for sure. What are you up to the rest of today? It is Wednesday.
I need to set up a lesson plan and do a little bit of reading and then some daddy daycare. What about
Daddy
yourself? What have you got
daycare.
on?
I'm doing some check-ins. I am setting up the group challenge that is coming for July, and I've still got to do my home gym session as well. So I'm going to be doing that. I'm hoping I can get out for a bit of a walk as well, even if it's this evening. Just feel like I'm getting twitchy, sitting at my computer. But no, so it's looking pretty nice out there. It's calling me. And
I just
lunch.
got,
It's lunchtime
I
now,
just,
so
yeah, I just got in one, probably the most unethical website in the world, Temu.
I have. Oh, I got one of those from Amazon. That's a massage gun. I banned my husband from shopping on Temu.
It's just a wee one.
Does it work? I can't hear it, Andy.
Maybe. Let's check.
It is a massage gun, by the way, everyone. If you hear it. Oh, there you go. Yes, that if you can hear it, that little noise is a massage gun. Mine is in the house. But they're great. I love them. But those types of things I'd say buy on Temu. But you see this behind me, this.
£7.
Oh my goodness, I think I paid like, well, I think mine wasn't too bad because I bought it on, it was like 25, £30.
£7.
Unbelievable. Let's see how long it lasts. So
And
this,
And it's got 4 attachments as well.
Very good. So straight from China. My husband was like looking at this stuff behind me and he was like, oh, we could do that on the roof of the van. And he was saying there's some flexible stuff just like that. Anyway, he saw someone Temu and ordered it. I did not know about this. And he was very excited to tell me. Box looked a bit small. You would not believe what came out of that box. It was like somebody had painted wood on plastic. It was disgusting. It was like
Horrific.
vinyl wallpaper. And I'm like, what have you done? He's like, it didn't look like that in the picture. So I've banned him from buying stuff on there. Anyway, there we go. Anyway, well, thank you everyone. I think we
Thank you
can call
for.
it a day.
I think Mark 2 went better than Mark 1 because we actually managed to keep internet connection all the way through there. So that's brilliant.
Unbelievable. Yeah, I've enjoyed chatting to you as always, Andy. Thank you very much. And then you can do
Absolutely.
the little messages to reminding people how much they like us.
So, as always, a little like, a share, a rating of 5 stars, wherever you get your podcast from, Spotify, Amazon, Apple, wherever it is. A little rating always helps us become a bit more visible to people who may need our help. If you want to get in touch with us, we are on Instagram. Ruth is at RuthMacFit. That's MAC Fit. And I am Andy_Wolfpack. And you can catch us for questions. You can give us some topics for future podcasts. You want to ask about coaching, you name it, anything. If you want any advice on anything, fire us a message, and we'll be more than happy to chat.
We do love chatting about anything like that.
And cakes, and
And
cakes.
cake. Yeah, happy to share any recipes, with you,
Absolutely.
and willing to receive any recipes you think I should try as well.
Yep, definitely.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. I really enjoyed it. Until next
Ciao,
time.
ciao.
Bye.